After finishing a business trip abroad, I returned home to find something odd about my daughter and son. "Why aren't you eating?" "Because Dad has." I couldn't believe what I heard from my daughter, and at the same time, I strongly felt that he should be properly punished. No matter how good someone's public face is, no one is fooled anymore. I'm Rebecca, a 51-year-old housewife with 2 children, but during the day, I work in sales at an automobile manufacturer. Recently, my performance was recognized, and I received a raise. Thankfully, I became the first female department head at my current job, so I want to work even harder than before. I have a husband, and I married Nate, a colleague from work. At that time, he was a senior who was more capable than most at work and was filled with kindness and attention to those around him. It seemed like these happy days would continue, but living together, I inevitably saw aspects of him that I didn't want to see. My husband is easily swayed by others' opinions and gets bored easily. He has started hobbies like fishing and camping, bought all the gear, and then gave up after a few tries. I used to watch this thinking that's just how men are, hoping he would find something he truly loves, but gradually, his shortcomings began to affect his work. He became close to a senior colleague through the same project and started to go out drinking after work more frequently. That's when I started to notice something was off. He began to criticize our current workplace and loudly advocate for further self-improvement. "I can't fully utilize my abilities in the current job. There's no motivation, and I want to compete where I can fully apply my knowledge." It's good to have motivation, but it would be nice to also see the good parts, not just criticize. For example, they do recognize your work, and the benefits are well structured, aren't they? This only added fuel to the fire, and my husband, his face turning red, continued to rant with foam at the corners of his mouth. "You don't understand. Recognized? Where? And what about the benefits? That's why women are not taken seriously, because they talk about such naive things." Now that he's become like this, all I can do is listen. It's your life, so I hope you live without regrets in both your job and private life, but don't forget that you're going to be a dad soon. At that time, all I could do was watch, but I think my husband was struggling with the pressure of work and protecting his family. One day he came home and yelled, "Rebecca, I'm changing jobs. The real fulfillment is at the new place. It's truly a blessing to be able to take on such a challenge at this age." I was stunned by his sudden words, but I quickly snapped back to reality. "Wait a minute. Have you already decided?" "Well, it was Rebecca who said to live without regrets, right? It's fine because it's recommended by a senior. It's a job that brings out many people's smiles and does good for others." Even after hearing his explanation, he just keeps repeating vague and unclear statements. "It's an up-and-coming company, so it'll definitely be okay. I'm gonna work my butt off for the sake of our coming baby." I could only stare at my husband's back as he kept saying everything would be okay without any basis. I was planning to return to work immediately after maternity leave, so I should have enough income to get by. However, I don't know much about my husband's job or earnings, so I was overwhelmed with anxiety about how we would live as a family from now on. According to my husband, the new job is at a startup, a company just set up last year by a friend of a senior colleague. From what I've heard, it seems like a company that pushes forward with enthusiasm and a strong spirit, operating on a sense of mission rather than concrete plans. The company's website is full of typos and error messages, hardly the atmosphere where a businessman can work properly. By this time, I already had a bad feeling. But my husband has a stubborn side that doesn't back down once he's made a decision, so I kept silent. It didn't take long for my bad feeling to prove right. Busier than the previous job, but with lower salary, no bonuses, and no overtime pay. He leaves for work at dawn and comes home at the last train, working at an absolutely terrible company. Due to the impact of the terrible company, my husband's behavior has changed. He works from early morning till late at night, So even though we live under the same roof, we hardly see each other or the kids anymore. During maternity leave, I somehow managed with support from my parents, but once the leave was over, work, childcare, and household chores piled up, leading to overwhelm. On top of that, my husband is indifferent to the household and childcare I handle, acting as if it's natural for me to do everything. There's no appreciation at all. Meals and cleaning are just trivial, women's work, right? I'm busy creating many people's reasons to live, so I don't have time to fuss over small things. I'm managing somehow while working too. I understand you're busy with work, but I'd appreciate it if you could help out within your capabilities. Were you even listening to me? This is why people who can't work get tired. I only do big jobs. Household stuff is your job, got it? I've turned a blind eye to certain things because he's busy, but this attitude is starting to make me angry. Plus, it's unbearable how he needlessly criticizes the way I handle household chores and childcare. Emily, it's Dad. Today, I'm gonna give you some tasty snacks you'll love. Emily is still too young for chocolate. They said so at the baby food class. What are you talking about, denying my affection to Emily like that? When did you become so high and mighty? Sometimes on his days off, he even gives her dangerous things to play with and doesn't stop her from doing things that could cause injury, never taking his eyes off his phone. Honestly, my husband is not at all helpful in parenting, but he claims he's a great dad. I couldn't help but wonder where his confidence came from. It's been 5 years since my husband changed jobs and he just got promoted. He had been working as a regular employee, but now that he finally got a title, he seemed so happy showing me his new business card. You've been working so hard since joining the new company. A promotion is amazing. I meant to praise him casually, but it seems I've greatly upset him. Is that sarcasm? Is it so annoying to you that I succeed in my job? Not at all. I didn't say anything about being annoyed or sarcastic. What's with the sudden yelling? Women without charm like you get dumped by men. He started to nag as if a switch had been flipped. I had prepared dinner with extra effort as a celebration of his promotion, but his sour mood turned the meal gloomy, like a wake. What's wrong, Dad? Are you not feeling well? Even Emily looked into his face, worried. Ruining the family atmosphere and even causing worry to our daughter, who's about to enter elementary school. What is a grown man doing? Listen, Emily. Don't become an uncharming woman like your mom. The best thing for a woman is to be the kind of wife that men adore. I couldn't believe what he was telling our daughter, outdated and spiteful words aimed at me. Unbelievable he would say this to such a small child, but that must be how Nate really feels. I'm too tired to engage properly, so I just let it go. For me, since Nate's salary was halved after changing jobs, any amount that can slightly improve our family's finances is welcome. But now that he's this upset, it seems like nothing I say will get through to him. Honestly, as his wife, I wish he'd wake up from this situation where he's just being exploited for his drive. Ever since Nate decided on his own to change jobs, I've had to work hard to make up for the loss in his earnings. Just then, a new project started aiming to expand sales overseas, and I was assigned to go on a business trip related to it. Despite the challenges of being in the middle of child-rearing, it seems my years of sales performance were recognized. Thinking that if this job goes well, it could lead to bonuses and future raises, I jumped at the opportunity as if it were a godsend. However, the problem now is the kids. Emily is growing up and will enter middle school next year, but we had a son 2 years ago. Although Nate got a promotion, he still works late, so he's not in a position to help with the kids. I feel bad for the inconvenience, but I can't afford not to take action, so I've decided to leave our 2-year-old son with my parents for care. Before leaving, I promised my elder daughter, who will stay at home, that I would call her every night after work. Emily, Mom just finished work and got to the hotel. Is everything okay there? It's okay. We just finished dinner here, and I'm about to start my assignment. One day, my eldest daughter, Emily, was video calling with a downcast face, so I asked her what was wrong. "Emily, you seem down today, what's going on?" "This Sunday, since Dad has the day off from work, he said we're going to visit Grandma's house to see Michael. Do you think Michael is okay?" "The grandparents are looking after him, so he should be fine." "You are such a caring big sister, Emily." "I'm worried. Dad is always working and doesn't seem to pay much attention to Michael." It was right after this conversation that my daughter's bad feeling came true. I had just returned from a business trip abroad and went straight to my parents' house to pick up my son. When I arrived, I noticed my son, Michael, whom I hadn't seen in a while, had developed what looked like a rash on his face. I was concerned as he seemed to be in a bad mood, probably exhausted from being in an unfamiliar environment for so long. Seeing his itchy rash and grumpy demeanor made me feel so guilty. When Michael and I got home, Emily had returned from school. Since I had been assigned the overseas trip, my husband Nate, who usually had a barrage of snide comments, was nowhere to be seen, which was a refreshing change. It turned out to be a rare dinner just for the three of us. Unusually for Nate, he had prepared some meals in advance for the day of my return, including a gratin that just needed to be warmed up from the fridge. "Oh, there's a gratin. We had a fight before I left, so maybe this is Dad's way of being considerate." While saying this to my daughter, I warmed up the gratin from the fridge and placed it on the table. Usually, Michael would grab a spoon and eat happily during mealtime, but today, he wouldn't even touch his spoon. "Oh, Michael, you like gratin, don't you? Why aren't you eating?" As I said this and took the spoon to feed him, he suddenly started crying as if triggered. This had never happened before. Emily seemed to realize something from his reaction. "Because Dad has." At that moment, Emily burst into tears. "I saw it, but I couldn't stop it. I was too scared of Dad and didn't know what to do." "What happened? Tell me everything." Emily was trying to tell me about what happened while I was away on the business trip. I listened without interrupting, letting her get her story out. "That Sunday, we went to visit Grandma's house to see Michael, like Dad said. I was happy because Dad wasn't angry like usual, and I was looking forward to seeing Michael." "That's about the day we talked over the phone, right?" "Yeah, I heard Dad saying, 'Why aren't you eating?' when I was in the bathroom." My husband usually doesn't take care of meals, so it's understandable that he's not skilled at feeding or giving snacks. In fact, Emily is better at feeding Michael than he is. "Was Dad feeding Michael at Grandma's house on Sunday?" "No, Grandma was feeding him. Around 3 o'clock, Dad took out a snack from his bag and was giving it to Michael, but he looked really angry. Then, he was pushing a small bread into Michael's mouth that was labeled with lots of eggs. Michael has an egg allergy, and since he started eating solid foods as a baby, I've been very cautious about ingredients. Initially, I didn't realize his allergy and just a small taste made his face turn bright red, and we had to rush to the pediatrician. I've told my husband multiple times about our son's egg allergy, so there's no way he doesn't know." "You're kidding. Eggs to Michael? What were my parents doing at that time?" "Grandma went to the convenience store, and Grandpa said he was going out to distribute the community bulletin. So, at that time, it was just me, Michael, and Dad." The thought of a father forcing his son, who is allergic, to eat something that could cause a reaction is traumatizing. Why would he do something like this, especially behind my back while I was away on a business trip at my in-laws' house? This isn't just a misunderstanding or human error, it's a serious issue. Forcing our son, who clearly has an egg allergy, to eat bread containing eggs, and even pushing it into his mouth, seems quite malicious. I was thinking about how to bring this up when my husband came home. He finished work quite early today and was carelessly humming a tune while reaching for a beer in the fridge. "Wow, you're home early today. Isn't this the day you returned from the trip?" "Yeah, my trip ended today." "You made the gratin, right?" "Yeah, I tried my best." I thought it's also a husband's job to take care of his precious wife," he said, putting his hand on my shoulder and pretending to give a massage. I don't want to see that insincere act anymore. It's time to confront him. "You visited my parents on Sunday to see Michael, right?" "Yeah, I had the day off and thought it might be nice to spend some time with Michael," he said, scratching the tip of his nose in an embarrassed manner as I felt anger bubbling up inside me. "You fed Michael eggs while my parents were away? Why would I give Michael eggs? Targeting when your mom and dad were out? Why would I do something like that?" He's trying to play it off, but it's clear as day. I can't overlook this. "You were home the first time Michael had an egg and got sick, remember? Knowing about Michael's egg allergy, why would you do such a thing?" "Come on, don't say such terrible things. I wouldn't deliberately give him allergenic food. Besides, I've been working all the time and never really fed the kids, you know? I'm tired, I'm going to bed." He thinks he can get away with it if no one saw it, but his attitude of trying to escape the issue is transparent. "We're not done talking. Emily saw you. She saw you giving Michael bread with eggs. That time, huh? I thought Michael was hungry. I didn't realize it had eggs in it." Does he really think I would let it go just because he didn't realize it? "Well, Emily was watching from a distance, but she could clearly see that it was bread with eggs." Then my husband, Nate, realizing he couldn't escape, started to get defensive. "It's sneaky to spy and stay silent. Just like you, huh? We're not talking about that now. The point is, how could you do something so terrible? You keep talking about being a manager and all, but that's all your brain is capable of, huh? Just a token position because you're a woman." He looks as if he believes he's made a valid point. But what he's saying is nonsense, and he's waving an empty bottle around. "Say whatever you want about me, but speaking harmfully towards our children and deliberately feeding them allergenic foods to make them sick is a serious crime. I'm calling the police. Everyone makes mistakes. You just want to blame me and run to the police, thinking you never make mistakes, huh? But the busy police won't come for a simple allergy issue, right?" He insists it was just a mistake, but I've had enough. I opened the closet where Nate keeps his bag and started going through it. "What are you doing? Have you lost your mind? Snooping through someone's bag is crazy. There it is, delicious sweet bread, rich in eggs, clearly marked with an egg illustration, a chicken, and a chick. You can't possibly misunderstand that. Shoving it into resisting Michael's mouth is not something you can do by mistake." Finally, Nate seemed to give in. "Yeah, I did it because you were off on your business trip, thinking you needed to be taught a lesson. If something bad happened to the kids while you weren't around, it would be your fault. You did it for that reason? To make him sick while I wasn't there, to blame it on my negligence?" Using such big words again. "Yeah, something like that." Nate still thinks he won't face police consequences, but how long can he keep up that confident demeanor? I quickly picked up Michael, grabbed my phone, and called the police. "I've already made the call. The police will be here soon, so let's clear this up right here." Officers from the nearby police station arrived, but Nate was still smirking. We shouldn't trouble the busy police with family matters. However, I was prepared, so this wouldn't just end with the officers leaving. I told them about Nate forcing Michael to eat the bread with eggs and showed them something else. I had been keeping a diary of Nate's terrible behavior, which I handed over. Additionally, I had recordings from a voice recorder, which served as solid evidence, leading to Nate being taken to the police station. "No, allergies and fights are just minor family troubles. Tell them it was a misunderstanding from your side too." There's no way I could mistakenly contact the police. Think again about what you've done, the way you've treated our children. Furthermore, with Emily's testimony, it was proven that Nate intentionally fed Michael, our son, allergenic food with malice. Considering his past actions that have caused mental anguish, it was suggested that we could press charges against him based on these comprehensive considerations. Nate is playing the victim, ignoring the unbelievable acts he has committed against his son and his past behavior. Turning me into a criminal when we're family. Don't you feel sorry for Emily and Michael? That's not an issue. You say it's okay, but what about Emily and Michael? It worries me what they will face at school. Despite never acting like a father, he's confident that the family and kids will struggle without him. You have no right to call yourself a father. We're getting divorced, and we won't be family anymore. Please submit the divorce papers. I presented the divorce papers I had been carrying around like a talisman. Divorce isn't something you can just do. We're a family. This is the time to support each other, right? I have no interest in supporting you. In your case, it's not about mutual support. You've always acted like it's your due. Watching him misuse words like support and father to justify himself only confirms he's unfit as a father and a husband. But I can't deal with his refusal to divorce any longer, so I played my final card. I'm going to your parents. I'll tell them everything, how you're now in trouble with the police, and everything you've done to me and the kids. Nate's parents are strict but kind, and they would never condone anything that strays from human decency. Nate has always said he left home abruptly after high school because he didn't see eye to eye with his parents. The husband, who has done nothing but shameful acts, now doesn't know how to face them. Please, don't tell my dad and mom about this. If you don't want me to tell them, sign here. Right now, in front of me. As soon as I mentioned his parents, Nate lost all his previous bravado and received the divorce papers. His malicious acts, coupled with their repetition over the years, led to a guilty verdict. He's already been fired from his job due to the scandal. Finding a new job won't be easy for him. Since the police have issued a restraining order, it reassures me that he won't come near me and the kids. I still receive letters from him suggesting we make up, filled with nauseating phrases like "we should have been honest about our true love." Fortunately, I plan to move soon and will take steps to refuse his letters completely. This will finally sever all ties with my ex-husband. Now, I'm raising Emily and Michael while still working at my current job. Thanks to the success of that business trip, my bonus will slightly increase. I'll use it to show my appreciation to someone special. Next month, let's go to a special place for the weekend. I'll invite Grandma and Grandpa too. Let's all go together. Really? I'm so happy we can go with Grandma and Grandpa. Both my daughter and son love my parents, who shower them with love, so I'm looking forward to our 3-generation trip. I want to live each day expressing gratitude and love to those important to me.